Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Hope you had a great day so far. Good week as well. I was thinking what to talk about here on the lake. As you can see, it's pretty calm actually. It looks like it might open up here pretty soon, but kind of 50-50 whether it's going to rain or not. But I was thinking about what to talk about today, and I actually came up with a list, a top 10 list for myself. And this top 10 list is talking about things in retirement that are going to cost more or less than what you plan for. So this is just my list. It's things I'm thinking about before I pull the plug on work and go into early retirement. So these are things I'm thinking about, making sure I'm checking off these boxes. So 10 things that will cost you more or less in your retirement, things you want to plan for. So it's not just about money or your finances or how much you have and where you have it. It's a lot of things. So most people, they go into retirement, including myself, at least in the beginning, making sure, my finances were in order, making sure I, had money in different silos, just in case there's a downturn in the market or, inflation keeps going up and up. But the thing is, we tend to focus on the numbers, and retirement's not like that. It's not going to follow a straight line or your spreadsheets perfectly. So you have to kind of plan for the unexpected. So you want to plan for everything else that shows up in retirement. So retirement surprises are rarely about your investments. They're about real life costs. So things that you may or may not anticipate. So that's what this video will be talking about. So have you actually accounted for everything? Your spreadsheet, do you have everything on that spreadsheet, from toilet paper to medical costs to car bills, mortgage, whatever expenses you have, and what those expenses will be moving forward. So don't just focus on the big stuff. You almost have to focus on everything, at least to get a general idea of what your expenses are going to look like in retirement. So that's what we're going to be talking about. So I'm glad you are joining me. If it's your first time, welcome. This channel's going to be about pre-retirement planning, retirement, the different phases of retirement, health, wellness, travel. You want to stay where you are, or you want to possibly move somewhere else. Could be for financial reasons, or maybe it's just to try something new, something different in your retirement life. So we'll talk a little bit about everything. And if you've been here before, welcome back. Appreciate your loyalty. Please like and subscribe if you like and you want to subscribe. I appreciate that. Just kind of lets me know I'm, sharing content that you're finding interesting and hopefully some value in it. And if you have any ideas or suggestions, please share them in the comments. We can't do this alone. We learn from, not only our mistakes and victories, but from others as well. So please share in the comments. So don't just focus on the big stuff when we're talking about costs in retirement. So the first thing I want to talk about is what they call the retirement gap. So this is kind of the gap between what you anticipated and what you will actually face in retirement. So this is going to be very individualistic. So everyone's situation is going to be a little bit different. So this is the difference between what people think retirement's going to cost and what it actually cost. So that's called the retirement gap. So it's not about living, in fear. It's more about awareness and being able to plan smarter, either before retirement or in retirement. So that's what we're talking about. So at number 10, I have healthcare gaps. And this is a pretty big one, even though it's number 10. Even if you're 65 and you can be on Medicare, you're still going to have costs and co-payments. And these are things that sometimes retirees just don't plan for. That, Medicare's, part of it's free, but a lot of it's not. So you have to plan for those additional costs. So there's going to be a lot of out-of-pocket expenses that maybe you haven't planned for completely or even thought about. So in addition, you're going to probably be taking a lot of supplements. It seems like everybody's on some kind of supplement, even before retirement. Prescriptions, those are going to be, expensive, and you'll probably, as you age, have and take more and more medications, the older you get, as your health declines. So that's going to be a big one. So, the cost isn't just about the doctor's visit. That may be the cheapest part of it. It's everything around it, your medications, this and that, even transportation. It's something you have to factor in when you talk about the healthcare gaps. I know I just went to the dentist for just a couple fillings, and I asked him, how much is this going to cost me? My part wasn't that much. And then I asked, how much are you billing insurance? Just for a couple fillings, it was approaching $1,000. I couldn't believe it. And I asked, well, how much do I have for the year? And they're like, $1,250. So I've already blown, just in a visit and a basic cleaning, the biggest part of what I have for the whole year. And that's just seeing a dentist. So the cost, they can be extreme, especially once you start, piling on specialists for whatever your situation is. So definitely something to consider. So those are healthcare gap costs. And that's number 10. So number 9, this is a big one too. Home maintenance and repairs. Things, if you go to Home Depot, Lowe's, wherever you go, Menards, things are not cheap. Anything with metal or steel in it, aluminum, all those products are much more expensive. And those are things that are going to pop up inevitably, especially if you're spending more and more time at home. You're going to be noticing things that you probably didn't know even needed fixed or repaired. So there's definitely going to be a cost with that. So it's going to happen. So it could be your roof, could be your HVAC system, just a ton of things. If you have a driveway, appliances, plumbing, oh my goodness, that can add up really quick. And it's something, I mentioned this in other videos, you want to have a kind of a liquid fund set aside just for those types of expenses. So if you're in early retirement, you don't have to hit your, 401k or your Roths to eliminate stock, especially if they're not doing so well, just to have that money to pay those kind of bills. So, definitely have a liquid fund available. As I'm floating on top of these lily pads out here, they're just about ready to bloom. See the little reddish pink flowers are approaching their bloom, I guess. So definitely can get expensive. So in retirement, your home could actually be your most expensive hobby. We're all thinking, oh, we're going to learn a language or take up woodworking or something like that. Well, your house could be could be the one that's eating, the biggest part of your budget. So, you know, definitely have enough set aside for that, and more than what you need, just in case. So that's number 9. So now moving on to number 8. Something I'm looking forward to immensely is travel. But what about the cost of travel? It's expensive. Things seem like they've doubled since last year, with fuel, hotel stays, everything's expensive. So, you know, retirees, we tend to like underestimate the cost of travel. The flight, hotel, food. Food is not cheap, whether you're here, or Spain, or Lisbon, wherever you're at. The costs are going up. Even in Southeast countries like Thailand and Vietnam, the prices are going up everywhere. So plan accordingly. You want to take a trip. You don't want to be thinking about like, oh my goodness, can I pay for that? So definitely plan for higher travel cost, especially if that's something that's on your bucket list in retirement. So, you finally have the time. Make sure you have the finances to travel, and travel comfortably, not exorbitantly, where you just blowing it on everything, buying everything you see, but just having enough to go where you want, and stay hopefully as long as you want, and enjoy it. So that's number 8, travel cost. So down to now number 7, helping family. That's something I'm thinking about a lot. As I've mentioned in other videos, I lost my father last year to lung cancer, and actually I think it was more the chemo than anything. But taking care of elderly parents, kids. Kids are expensive, especially if they're out of the house and maybe they decide to get married, and then you're like, well, let me flip the wedding, or buy them a trip somewhere. That's going to be expensive, and probably a lot more than what you're anticipating. So, um, helping kids, grandkids, it can add up for sure. And also just emergencies in general, whether it's with yourself or could be a parent. My mom's definitely frail compared to what she was a few years back. And, you never know, I may have to help her out. We'll have to wait and see. So, you know, don't plan for generosity, but it happens. So, you know, be able to give not just your time, but, if you have some extra and you've planned for it, definitely, be there to help out, the best you can. So that's number 7, helping family. Okay, so now we're at number 6. Here's another one, car replacement and transportation. I was just actually listening to a video today of this guy, and he made a good point, and it's not actually part of this, but, I'm adding it, last minute. I was thinking, car repairs, especially if you have more than one car, that's going to add up, and then registration cost. So even then, you may want to cut back. Like, I have more than one car, and I'm thinking, do I really need that? I may travel, but I may not travel so much by car. It just really depends. But excuse me, those costs can add up. The more you have, the more expensive it can become. Excuse me. Not used to talking so much. So you've got car repairs, especially if you have more than one car. And old cars, they keep aging, even in your retirement. Also, insurance. Insurance is going nowhere but up. So you have to plan for that as well. So, your vehicle, and just transportation in general, that's going to be a cost that you may underestimate as you get into retirement. So now we're on to number 5. So we're halfway there. Yeah. So number 5, inflation over time. This is something that's been impacting all of us for the last few years. And it seemed like at the beginning of the year, things were improving a little bit, but now, no. Things have almost doubled since the beginning of the year. So inflation just eating away at your nest egg. So that's definitely something you have to, build into your spreadsheets, on when you're estimating the cost of everything, whether it's travel, food cost, dining, when you dine out, everything is more expensive. So that's something you really have to, you know, add in. If you think it's going to be 5%, make it 7, give yourself a little buffer. So it's really the silent budget killer, inflation. So it just eats away at everything you purchase, any service you need, whether it's on your car or yourself. Everything's going to go up, as we've seen in the last few years. So um, and this is really impactful, especially if you're on a fixed income. It can really take a big hit. um, I know a couple years ago, even myself, I was thinking, well, inflation was only 2.5%. Now it's doubled, tripled, who knows? And it may continue to go up. So that's something you have to factor in. So the cost of living doesn't retire when you do. So it's probably just going to keep going up and up and up and up. So that's number 5. And here we go. Number 4, taxes you didn't expect. So there's things called like these RMDs that will creep up on you once you get into your early 70s. I think 73 if you were born before like 1960, and then 75 if after that. And that's where you're going to have to take money out of your 401k, your Roths. It's a government mandate, so it's something you have to do. And there's some kind of calculation they come up on just how much that's going to be. So that's something you have to figure in. So RMDs, Social Security taxes, on whatever you get, and depending on how much you're pulling out of your different silos of money, whether it's a 401k or an IRA, you know things are going to be taxed if they're not a Roth. And I'm not by no means an expert, but I know I've heard as far as Roths, those are uh, basically after tax, and then the traditional IRAs, that's where you're going to really get hit when you take the money out, depending on what your tax bracket is. But don't take my word on that. I'm definitely not an expert, just a guy, planning out my own retirement. So hopefully helping you as well, kind of give you some ideas that maybe you didn't think about, or you did, just need a little bit more clarification on it. So, beautiful view. I think someone's doing some trimming off in the distance. So another one is your withdrawals. Um, those can really impact you as well. I spoke with someone not too long ago, and they had gone into retirement early, I think at 61 and a half or something like that. And she was so excited, but then she decided to build her dream home, and she took out this lump of money from her, I think it was something like a 401k. I don't remember if she was like a teacher or something like that. So it might have been something similar to that. But it really got her. I mean, she really got taxed on a chunk of money that she was not anticipating. Guess what? She ended up having to go back to work to help mitigate that cost that she wasn't anticipating to come out of her savings, from her nest egg. So that's something you have to anticipate. So these withdrawals, and depending on how much and when, they can definitely make a difference. So that's number 4. So we're on to number 3. So next one, guess what? What if you do live 100 or 90 or 85? Longevity, that's a risk to your portfolio as well. Your nest egg, the longer you're here, the more it's going to cost. And things will probably um, go up in cost as well, over time. So if you live longer, you're going to probably need more money. So living longer equals more years of spending. So you have to plan for that as well. That's what we all think we want, is to live, a long, long time in retirement, but that's going to cost you. So plan accordingly. So the best case scenario is also the most expensive. So people want to live forever, but guess what? There's a price tag on it. So it's such a beautiful evening here. I just want to share this. So let's get back here. So number 2. So number 3 was longevity, risk, the cost of living older and just having those expenses over a longer period of time. So that's something you really have to plan for. And number 2, your lifestyle. You're going to be retired. You're going to have a lot more time on your hands. So you're going to maybe be buying things that you wouldn't necessarily have bought before or had the time to buy. Or, maybe you'll spend more time in stores and want to put things in your cart. So things can get expensive. And it's not just the things you purchase online or in the store, but also your hobbies. Like I said, maybe you want to learn another language or take up woodworking. I don't know. Or you have a, you know, uh, old car you're working on, or a bike, or, a Harley or whatever. Those things are expensive hobbies. So that can really eat up your budget and what you had forecasted. Especially, the more you have, if you have one, well, now if you have 2 or 3, hot rods or whatever they are, that can really eat into your budget. So, travel, eating out, just activities, things you want to do, they're going to be more and more expensive. So just think about that. Freedom tends to get expensive fast in retirement. So you may need a little bit more than you're anticipating. So that's number 2. So finally, we're at number 1. So this is actually the biggest hidden cost of them all. And it's something a lot of us do not anticipate. So I just want to pan around again. The big bird over there at the end. So this is, when you're in retirement, you're going to have time you didn't have. So you may not have that structure. So it's time without structure. So, it's not financial per se, but it's kind of like the indirect financial impact of not having structure and balance. So this can, you know, be signs of, boredom, where you just buy things just because you want to buy them, make yourself feel better. And it's only temporary. So it's going to wear off and then you'll be like back to like, oh, I'm so bored. What was I thinking? You didn't plan ahead on what life in retirement was really going to be, from Sunday to Sunday, and not just those weekends. It's not a Saturday every day. Oh, there's a bird off in the distance. So, time without structure. So, this is number one. So, you know, boredom, loss of routine. You're not working anymore, and it can affect your decisions, your buying decisions. Maybe you're normally pretty practical, and yeah, you should spend, but then you don't want to spend just to spend because you're bored. You don't know what to do. You're going to buy stuff you don't need. You know, live more modestly. If you want to, you can always give whatever you want to charity. Do good in this world. Don't just buy crap because you're bored or you don't know what to do. So think about those things before you retire. So that's number one. The biggest hidden cost, it's a loss of routine that really just helps you make poor decisions. So kind of in closing, retirement isn't just a math problem. It's really a life adjustment. Your life is different in retirement, so you have to plan accordingly. So to wrap this video up, so none of the top 10 on my list, none of them are reasons not to retire. It's not about that. It's not about living in fear. They're just things to help you plan honestly and be honest with yourself on what you're going to do in retirement. So that's what this video is about. So it's really giving you, better clarity and be able to make better retirement decisions. So I don't know. What about your top 10? Anything I missed? Anything you would add um, to the things that you think might cost you more or even less in retirement? Please share them in the comments. Um, I'm sure there's some other things I would add as well, and I may do that in a future video, but that's really it. I appreciate you joining me. Hopefully, you got something out of this video. Like I often say, come for the content and stay for the show. And I appreciate you being here. Like I said, if it's your first time, welcome. If you've been here before, thank you for your loyalty. Please share anything about, you know, your struggles, your victories, either planning for retirement or in retirement. And also, are you staying here in the US, in retirement, or are you looking at maybe venturing somewhere elsewhere? I have plans to visit Europe and Southeast Asia, um, at least initially as a, just to check it out, but who knows about the future. So, let me know. Let us, discuss, you know, life abroad. Have you been somewhere you really liked and share why or why not? What was it about it that you really didn't like? Would you go back? Would you think others may want to go there as well? Please share that in the comments. And if you like, please like. And if you want to, go ahead and subscribe. I appreciate it. Um, well, have a great rest of your day and be safe out there. Take care. Beautiful view of the lake.